Hello, my name is Alayar Kangarlu, and this is Solidarity Forum. In this episode, I will continue my conversation with Catherine Perez-Shakdam on matters related to Iran-Israel relationship. Catherine, welcome and thank you for participation in this series of conversations.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure being here with you.
Today, I want to talk to you about the U.S.-Israel-EU alliance and their individual goals as related to the Islamic Republic in Iran.
hmm
As I understand it, Catherine, Israel feels an existential threat from the Islamic Republic.
hmm
The US and the EU don't. This
True.
is in spite of the fact that US and EU have been, on the paper, opposing the Islamic Republic since its inception, really. Could you tell us about the similarities and differences in US, EU, and Israel policies towards the Islamic Republic the way you understand it?
Okay, so let me start with the EU because I think it's quite interesting and very telling of what we see happening. So the EU, on paper, and really only on paper, opposes terrorism in all its forms. The EU, and again on paper, is supposed to be this great bastion for human rights. They claim to be the defenders of, they claim to be repulsed at the notion that people could be subjected to any form of discrimination on whatever basis, for that matter, and that we must do all we can to make sure that people are equally treated and that they have access to, at least that their rights be respected and honored. And I think that those are beautiful sentiments that I share. I don't believe that people's rights should be violated. I don't believe that there could ever be a moment or a time or a juncture where we could justify discriminating against people. Now, I will make one caveat at that statement, is that in my mind, the second that people are, excuse me, sorry, so sorry, I have cats and they decide to play with my charger, so apologies for that. So the second that terrorists decide to target people for whatever reason, because I don't really care, then I feel that the human rights have been suspended on the basis that they are seating themselves outside of humanity. And this is important because a lot of the time, groups like Hamas have argued their rights, but I disagree. They don't have them, because when they commit crimes such as that of October 7th, I think that they have clearly told the world that they don't care one bit about human rights. And so the courtesy of those rights should not be extended to them. Now, the EU doesn't share this little belief of mine. And they have very strangely decided to protect and extend courtesies to groups such as Hamas and the Islamic Republic of Iran ad nauseam. And it doesn't matter what the Islamic regime does. It doesn't matter what terrorist group decide to do, who they target or why they target them, those groups, for example. They feel that they should be protected. And they have a really strange kind of intellectual gymnastic in doing so. And so far, even though the EU has claimed to want to prescribe the IGC, for example, they haven't done so. The same goes for the UK. Even though people have claimed that October 7th was an atrocity on the face of the world, they have done nothing to support Israel other than issue platitudes, statements that are empty of meanings. Because if you don't help the IDF defeat Hamas or defeat the Islamic Republic, that remains, the main culprit in those crimes, and that it has commandeered, planned, engineered, and set up the ideology that gave birth to, then you're not on the side of humanity. And this is the issue that I have with the EU and the UK, is that I don't believe them. I don't believe, MPs who continue to peddle the narrative that Hamas advances, as well as that of the Islamic Republic, that believe that Hezbollah and the Houthis have right. They don't. They oppress their own people. They have been guilty of 1,000 deaths, if not 100,000, if not millions of deaths across the world. And those people need to be stopped. Now, when it comes to the US, and this is interesting, so up until the time where President Donald Trump came to the White House the US was gone, lost to humanity, and supported Hamas and the Islamic Republic in ways I don't even want to talk about. Now that we have Donald Trump in the White House, thank God, things have gone better, but not completely. I don't want to judge Donald Trump because he has done so many great things for Israel and for the Jewish people and for the world in general, that I want to believe that there's a plan. I want to believe that what he's doing is to confuse the Islamic Republic and to prevent them from thinking strategically and to induce paranoia. I'm hoping that's what it is. If not, then I'm worried. But I don't believe for a second that President Trump, whose daughter, Ivanka Trump, is Jewish herself and has a Jewish family, would do anything to harm Israel or harm the future of Israel. So I will remain a believer. I will remain a supporter. But that said, the world has to do a lot more. And if I may, I would like to say thank you to the Crown Prince Reza Shah for supporting since the beginning my people, Israel, the Jewish world, and for remaining the only man with more clarity in the middle of a storm. And he hasn't changed, the tune of his song. And I thank him for that. And I'd like to think that the Israeli people thank him for that, and that the Jewish people do so too. I can't hear you.
I agree with you about the good intention of Donald Trump and his policies and his friendly policies and trying to protect the Jewish nation. But I'm sure you've heard this expression that they say the road to hell is paved with good intention.
Unfortunately.
The way that the 12-day war between Israel and Islamic Republic was abruptly brought to an end at the behest of Donald Trump. Do you think that it served the interest of Israel, or do you think it actually prevented Israel to go all the way and help overthrow the Iranian regime?
That's a good question. I'm going to say, because I thought about it long and hard. I think that if Israel had gone further in its attack of the Islamic regime, it may have prompted the Islamic regime to retaliate in kind and maybe to do something that we would all regret or would not know how to handle. I do believe that Israel and the US really measured very tightly just how far they were willing to go, strategically speaking, to send a very clear message to the regime and to say, we will come back and destroy you completely, should you dare do anything against the state of Israel, against the Jewish people, against anyone else for that matter, or against your people. I think also that the two nations wanted to give a space within which the Iranians could rise against the regime and strike it down. And I think that maybe it was miscalculated, but the day's not over, until the fat lady sing. And so I'm hoping that the fat lady hasn't sung yet, and she will soon, and that Iranians will rise against the regime. Look, I don't think that it would have helped anybody if destruction would have been total. Yes, I would like to think that we have destroyed enough. Yes, I would like to think that we bought ourselves a window of opportunity in that the regime cannot now reconsolidate its positions, that Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis were taught a very harsh lesson indeed, that if you come after us, you pay a dear price, and that they have disbanded, or they will, because they can't continue anymore, because there is no one else to support them, and there's no money, and everything was cut off. It's like the rug was pulled from under their feet. And so maybe that's the victory. And we also need to understand that world leaders of the quality of Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump don't think like us in terms of 1 year, 2 years, and that they project themselves in the future a bit longer, and so could potentially see things that we don't see, and that they most likely know things that we don't know. And so whatever information that they have, may have pushed them to make those decisions. Also, something that we need to consider is the fact that they are talking to a lot of RGC commanders who are now betraying the leadership, understanding that there's not much life in the regime left, and that maybe we do need those informations to be made public, or at least to be made known to our intelligence services, and that will lead to greater victory, to come. So we need to be waiting, I think. And I don't want to be harsh in judgment. I don't want to say, well, I have only one vision or, very restricted information on what is going on. So it's not up to me to pass judgment, really. I don't want to do this. I also don't want to be the kind of person that will suddenly turn around and criticize, the President Trump or Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on the basis that I don't know. I don't know. Yes, my feeling was hurt. Yes, I was upset because I would like to see the regime gone. I would like to see them destroyed. I would love nothing more than to see Khamenei dragged in chain to Jerusalem or Tel Aviv and be judged. I would love to see the day. I would love to stand in court and actually point the finger and say, I remember you, and tell him where to go. But, that day hasn't come yet. I'm sure it will. And I want to believe in America. I believe in Israel for sure. And I think that it will be okay. And now my hope is in you, beautiful Iranian people. Just destroy them. It's just like the world is begging you. Just tell us what you need and we'll give it to you if we can. But please, do us a favor, do the world a favor and get rid of this evil, evil regime. Because they don't have a space in the world today. They have to go. And I can see how our democracy are twisted themselves to peddle to the narrative, and they don't understand what's right, what right is wrong, the difference between right and wrong. And it's painful. It's painful to see young people and crowds of people just embracing the regime. And I've seen in the past few weeks flags of the Islamic Republic being waved in London, people calling for the end of the bombings. And I'm thinking, do you understand what you are buying the Iranian people by doing so? I don't think they do. It doesn't mean that they should be forgiven on the basis that they don't know. But it's infuriating. So, yes, my answer is I don't know.
So I'm curious, what do you think was Trump's motivation in stopping the strikes? I'm asking this because of this profound lust among some Iranians for manufacturing and spreading theories about the US and Europe's reluctance to allow the demise of the Islamic Republic to happen. And such policy is attributed to the fact that the presence of the Islamic Republic in the Middle East will act as a boogeyman for Arab regimes and scares them off so much to force them to seek the US protection that will bring the US billions of dollars of sales of military hardware and low oil prices. First, tell me if you subscribe to this theory.
I don't know. It's complicated. Does the US have an interest in the future of Iran and it's trying to negotiate something? Maybe. I don't think that Donald Trump is foolish enough to think that he can make a deal with the regime. I don't believe it for a second, if I'm honest, because he's not a man. I mean, look, everything so far that he has shown and demonstrated tells you that he's a man of conviction and that he believes in freedom and in democracy, or at least he believes that human rights should not be trampled over. So I'm going to
why do you think he stopped the war?
I think he stopped the war because if you were to completely destroy Iran, and I'm not talking about the regime, I'm talking about Iran as in, the natural resources or the ability that Iran will have later on once the regime is gone to rebuild, would be catastrophic for the Iranian people.
But that wasn't the only option. I mean, Israel...
That wasn't the only option, but you're forgetting something. So in the Jerusalem Center, I've published a report I would encourage people to read about the kamikaze protocol. So the regime decided long ago that should its demise be near or come near, they would destroy everything and create an environmental catastrophe in Iran. And I think that Donald Trump either read the report or was aware of the intelligence that came with that report that I haven't published, because obviously. And so he may have decided that in the light of this, he wanted to spare Iran a catastrophe. Not the regime, but Iran as in the country, and again, Iranians' ability to breathe for another day. And that's important because we don't know everything. So as part of the kamikaze protocol, the regime wants to blow up dams and destroy Iranians' ability to extract energy from its natural resources and to export and to do great many things. And so can you imagine if they decided to just blow up all the wells? It would be catastrophic, not just for Iran and Iranians, but the world altogether. And it would be something that I'm not sure we would be able to manage. And so maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was to prevent, not to put the regime so much in fear of its survival that they would do the unthinkable and do something that nobody can come back from. So I suspect that's what it was.
Don't you think that these kind of theories are advanced by the regime itself to act as an insurance, life insurance for the government of Iran?
I don't know, but can you take the chance of not listening?
Well, if they blow up all the dams, you know that there are no water behind the dams in Iran. All the dams have run dry.
No, but the problem is that they've hidden some nasties not too far from. And so, I mean, look, that's information I was given. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But the point is, can we take a chance? And so, yes, I think that we walking a very tight rope. Is like how much destruction can we bring about without destroying everything? How much pressure do we exert on the regime to make sure that it just disintegrates without risking the Iranian people? And I think that this should be our foremost thought, is that we need to make sure that Iranians can fight, destroy the regime, and rebuild their lives after that. And so it's difficult. And I wish I had an answer. I wish I knew everything. I think that it would be lovely if God could come down and just tell us what to do. But he's not around for that. So we have to make decisions, based on what we know, and most importantly, what we don't know. And that's the tricky part for me.
I mean, that might be true from the US point of view. The US has the luxury of thinking like that. But I think Israel doesn't have that luxury, because Israel is feeling an existential threat from the Islamic Republic. They say a tiger is dangerous, but a wounded tiger is lethal. Right now, Islamic Republic is a wounded tiger. If you think that they took the lesson from the smacking that Israel delivered over the 12-day war, I think that's a very simplistic way of looking at this regime. This regime is hell-bent over destroying the state of Israel. And now they are more determined than in the past. So that's exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. What do you think? I mean, I'm sure that there are a lot of people in Israel, including Prime Minister Netanyahu, who think like that. They feel an existential threat from the Islamic Republic, but the US doesn't. And that's exactly the point of departure between the US foreign policy and the state of Israel's interests. And that this is the first time, I think, in the history of Israel that Israel and the United States have diverging interests. I mean, we see that various US presidents, back in the George Bush's time, the George Bush Jr., there was the World Trade Center terrorist attacks, and then he invaded Afghanistan and Iraq, who had nothing to do with the World Trade Center, while the headquarters of all the terrorists in the world, not in just in the Middle East, is in Tehran, and
Qatar. Don't forget Qatar. Qatar has the role to play in that.
Well, the Iranian regime is the one who is training, recruiting, and providing them with arms and information and drones and missiles and navigation systems and all of that.
Qatar is footing the bill.
Yes, but that the point I'm trying to press here is that now, for the first time, there is a difference. There is a divergence between the U.S. interests. I mean, some people, as I told you about the conspiracy theory among the Iranian opposition forces, some people believe that there are some invisible hands by the U.S. and Britain primarily to try to keep the Islamic Republic in power in Iran, because it's good for business, it's good for low oil prices, and it's good to sell billions and billions of dollars of arms to the Arab states. And as soon as Iran becomes a democracy, even a half democracy like Turkey, then all that pressure will evaporate, and then the people in the Middle East will start cooperating. Israel will become accepted. There will be peace and prosperity and all of that, and nobody needs the U.S. So that might be, I'm not saying that this is, but that might be the U.S. interest. On the other hand, Israel is a tiny country that this very rich country of Iran, the regime in Iran, has been, and this is not a claim, this is not a suspicion, this is not an illusion, this is actually reporting the actions of the Iranian regime, of the Islamic Republic. In the last 47 years, if there's any consistency in their foreign policy, is opposition of Israel, opposition to not just opposition to the policies of the Israeli government, opposition to the existence of Israel. And they have taken, some solid measures to bring the demise of Israel. I mean, the so-called Ring of Fire, the financing of all the terrorists and all of that. So could Israel afford to take orders from the United States when it comes to the matters of divergence foreign interests as related to the Islamic Republic?
I don't know if Israel is taking orders from anybody, if I'm honest with you. I think that Bibi is playing along with the US for now. It doesn't mean that he's going to do it forever. When it comes to Israel's survival and our ability to fight back against any enemy, I don't think that if danger comes too close, he will do what he has to do, what needs to be done, regardless. We have done it before. We have to do long so many times. I can't even count anymore. I can't get to those numbers. It's terrifying. I'm not angry because the US stopped us. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna say yes, because I felt that the risk was worth it. But that's me being selfish. That's me saying, I don't care about anyone else but the fate of Israel, and that's not fair on other people. I realize that. But sometimes you want to be selfish, and I'm tired. I'm tired of seeing people suffer. Don't know if you've seen some of the footage that was released by Hamas and the fate of our hostages. It's I have no words for this. It's just it's not heartbreaking, it's soul-wrenching. It's the level of hatred, what they are willing to do, and their ability to witness a suffering like that and to rejoice. I don't think those people have a shred of humanity left in them. I don't want to consider to be human beings. And if people accuse me of dehumanizing them, I'm going to say yes, joyfully. Because once you have gone that far, there's no redemption for you. And so I don't know. Look, it's a really difficult question, because do I want the regime to be destroyed? And I mean, when I mean destroy, I want them to be, blown up to the point where you don't know what is what. I want them to be erased from the face of the earth. I want them to be not just a bad memory. I don't want us to be ever able to remember them. I don't want their name to be called or to be told or be taught. I want that whole chapter of history, of our history, to be erased. I want us to start over and decide that, coming, when the end of the regime comes, it will be like, year zero, and we start over the calendar. I just want it gone. But it's not, I mean, this is wishful thinking on my part. I don't know why America stopped Israel. I want to believe that there's a good reason. That's what I'm holding on to, because otherwise I will lose my mind. Will Bibi do what needs to be done if it comes to this? Yes, he will. I don't think that the world will like it. But you know what? I'm with him anyway, because I believe in him. I believe in his premiership. I believe that he has the best interests of Israel at heart. And if I'm wrong, then so be it. I also want to believe that Iranian will come and save us by defeating the regime before we have to do something. I really do that. I put my faith in your people. Literally my faith into your people. I hope that you would prove me right. And if you don't, maybe we should, align one another. Get an alliance going and go fight them together. If that's what it comes to it, then fine, let's join us and let's go fight. Mm-hmm. But if the regime is listening, if Qatar is listening, we'll come and get you. It's a matter of time. History teaches you, and should teach you, that there is no possibility of a future for you. The good people of Israel and Iran will come and destroy you. And I hope I'm there to celebrate with you when you reopen a lovely embassy in Iran, in Tehran. I hope to see the day when Reza Shah is crowned in Tehran. I really hope to see the day when people will dismantle the regime and reclaim the crown, reclaim the monarchy, because it's the only way forward. And we have a very brief talk before we started recording about, should we give our trust to monarchies? I say yes. And I've changed my mind so many times around this. I went back and forth, but I decided that yes. And I tell you what, it's not because I don't believe in democracy. I do. But I also don't believe that democracy can offer us the kind of vision and understanding of where a nation needs to go in order to survive and thrive. I don't believe that democracy can safeguard borders the way that monarchies can. I don't believe that any elected official will defend, no matter what, its nation, and that they are above being bought. A king cannot be bought. A queen cannot be bought because their country belongs to them already. They have pledged an oath that is in their interest to serve. So you may disagree with some of the policy, but that's different. But when it comes to the integrity of a nation, monarchies, I'm afraid to say, oh, best bet. And so for someone who was literally raised on the Republic, I'm going to say that I hope to see rise democracies in the Middle East. And you only need to look at the UAE and Kuwait and Saudi Arabia. Morocco is a good example too, of how monarchies have managed to protect their nation, their people, how they have thrived, even though other nations have faltered, and how they have been able to withstand the tide. And they have done so greatly. And so, the world would be a very different world if, indeed the monarchy in Iran would have, been able to survive the Islamic Revolution. And the only reason why it wasn't able to was because the French got in the way. I will never let it go. I will never stop saying it until the French apologize to you. And one Shah decided to trust his friends, and it was betrayed. And the rest.
Yes.
It's not a pretty chapter.
Yes, yes. I mean, the reason why I'm focusing and dissecting and pressing on this theory is that, in my opinion, the alliance between the free world and Israel seems solid, and their commitment, the West's commitment to Israel's legitimate right to defend itself against its enemies, which the Islamic Republic is the most vocal, prominent, and committed, is quite obvious. I mean, I have no quarrel with that. And it is obvious that the West has done a great deal to curb the Islamic Republic's military and economic power, and make sure that the tentacles of this octopus doesn't extend far enough to pose an existential threat against Israel, although a lot of people think that, that effort has not been very successful. But the stopping of the 12-day war by Trump and the European support for Hamas in recent months has emboldened the conspiracy theory of the West's reluctance for allowing the Iranian people to overthrow the Islamic Republic. How do you reconcile these evidences with your take on this matter?
I don't know. I'm trying to be hopeful. Don't disturb my belief. Look, I don't know. If indeed you're right, and there is some kind of an attempt to kind of derail the fall of the regime, that I'm going to get really angry. And I mean, I'm not saying that I have any sway over anybody, but I think a lot of people like me will get very angry, because that would mean condemning a lot of people to a lot of pain. And I don't want that to happen. Now, I want to believe still that world leaders understand that you should not ever, just play with the nation's future like that. And just for the sake of commercial gain and adding a few zeros to your bottom line, to sacrifice millions of people to a fate that, you would not want on yourself, that would be despicable. So maybe, like I said, maybe there are things that we don't understand because, we don't have the intelligence reports that they do have access to. And that, it is possible that actually there is a plan. Maybe Trump is toying with the regime for reasons that I can't understand, but I'm willing to let go in order to, hoping that very soon will be proven right and that the regime is going to go. That's all I have to say, because I don't know. And it would be terrible to think that we have been betrayed like that.
Yes.
It would be unforgivable.
Yeah.
But I guess history will tell us.
Well, before we start this conversation and before the camera starts rolling, you and I were talking about how Iranians, saved the Persians, saved the Jewish people, 2,000 years ago, and how the Jewish people are coming to the Iranians' rescue, and the role that the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi will play in all of this, obviously to help the Iranian people in their struggle for ridding themselves of the evils of the Islamic Republic, the opposition needs to unite around a charismatic leader.
Yes.
And right now, the only such leader is Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, who is in recent years has intensified his efforts in uniting the colorful opposition of the Islamic Republic and direct their energy at the regime rather than each other, which has proven to be a very difficult thing to do. Regarding the legal status of the Crown Prince, in your recent conversation with Emily Schrader, you suggested that since the Islamic Republic's 1980 referendum on
Yes.
the question of the Islamic Republic, yes or no, was engineered, then it is not legitimate and must be declared null and void from the standpoint of the international laws. And as such, Empress Farah Pahlavi, the mother of the Crown Prince, as the legal regent, can declare formation of a government in exile.
Absolutely.
It is funny that you might not know this, but I made this exact suggestion some 10 years ago.
Did you?
Yes, and some prominent leaders of opposition opposed my suggestion and
Of course they
chastised me for
did.
even
Of
making that
course they
suggestion.
did. I mean, because can you imagine, if the Crown Prince, or not if, when, returns, I mean, they're gone and it's over. And I mean, what opposition are we talking about? I mean, of course, there will be an opposition in the sense that, you will have political parties and people will be able to debate and disagree. And I'm sure that Iranians would love to do that, and they will, because they're kind of like us. I mean, if you put two Iranians in a room, you're going to have about 10 opinions. We do the same thing. And it's fine. It's good. It's for me, it's a sign of intelligence. But at the same time, it would be game over for them in terms of saying like, oh, we want to see this, we want a republic, we want a whatever. No, you're going to have a parliamentary monarchy. Sit down. So yes, I'm not surprised, but I'm really pleased that you had the same idea. So I'm not a crazy person.
Well, actually, I didn't know about the fact. I mean, short of that little reference to the role of Empress Farah and the fact that as a regent, she was in the position, in the absence of the king himself, she was in the position to declare the Crown Prince as the king.
Yes.
And then you mentioned something else. There is another little legal technicality that, this can only be done in the Iranian soil. And there is a piece of Iranian soil in Israel. Could you say a few words about that and let the people know what you're exactly talking about? It seemed to me like you have thought about all different aspects of it.
Oh, yes, because I can hear,
you have all your ducks in a row.
Critics. I mean, I've heard the critics and they call me crazy and they call me, yes, you don't know, da-da-da. And I'm just like, well, look, it doesn't matter. This is my opinion. And I've researched it like really, really carefully. But before I delve into it, do me a favor, please, because I know you're quite close to the royal family. Please send my regards to Queen Farah. I think she's a wonderful woman. And I'd like to think that she's going to come and save the day. But if you look at the Constitution, and people have told me that I have no right to weigh on the matter. To an extent, I would agree, except for the fact that no one else is doing it. And so I took the liberty of, giving Iranian people options. And if that means that I'm overstepping, shoot me. But I want to save my people. I'd like to see your people thrive. And I just had an idea. And if you don't like it, it's fine. You don't have to follow it. But don't shoot the messenger, okay? And I'm only reading the text. So, under the Constitution of 1906, it says very clearly that in order for a crown prince, or crown princess for that matter, to rise to become the righteous and rightful leader of Iran, then it needs to be done where, at the head, at the seat of power. And that is, of course, Tehran, the capital. Now, if that seat of power changes, it's absolutely fine. But it needs to be done from an Iranian sovereign land. And unfortunately, because the Islamic Republic is holding your whole nation hostage and has literally hijacked your borders and your sovereignty, then we need to find another piece of land that escape, this hold that the regime has. And this piece of land was purchased by the former Shah. And I suspect that His Majesty, in his great wisdom, may have foretold or foresaw what is going on right now. And I think that he gave the crown and his wife the tools and the ability to save the day. I really do. I think that it was a lot more, I would say, a master of history than we have given him credit for. I think that he understood exactly what was going on. I think that he also understood how vile and manipulative clerics could be and what maybe would come to pass. Because, I mean, he's given you a way out that I don't think people understand just to which extent that runs, because it's a perfect play. And judging from the violence with which the regime has come for me in relation to my proposal tells me that I can't be too far off. And I mean that genuinely, because I mean, the abuse that I receive online is off the charts. And interestingly enough, you'd like to think that me infiltrating the regime would cause upset, and it has. But when I came up with my proposal, good Lord, they came out and they came up with blood, and I heard everything. And they were very poetic about the things that they wanted to do to me in terms of like, we're gonna nail you on a cross, we're gonna do, and I was like, okay, it's friendly. But I was thinking, okay, so you're more upset with the notion that Queen Farah could travel to Tel Aviv and reconstitute, the government, the seat of government, and proclaim a free Iran from the only sovereign land that Iran has left away from the regime, and to crown her son, Shah, and for him to have not only the legitimacy, but the legal tools to then reconstitute a government and essentially call for a constitutional crisis, because then, of course, the world nations would have to decide, do you stand with the Shah and a free Iran, or do you stand with the despicable, stomach-churning cleric in the Islamic Republic of Iran? And so, like, in this situation, I think that it would be very easy to tell who is a friend of Iran and who is not, and who is a foe, and who you need to strike down, and who has lied and betrayed and plotted against the Iranian nation. And I think that no one wants to see that, at least not those who want or wish well for the Iranian people. And so I'd like to think that this is our best shot. I'd like to think that this is something that we need to very seriously discuss, because what else are we going to do? I mean, if anyone has a proposal that, like mine, is actually, I would say, immune to a lot of, it's not so much criticism, but I thought of everything, or at least I tried. It's what else are you going to do?
Yes.
So if you have a better idea, please tell me. I'm all for it. But if not, I suspect that there is none. Then why is it so difficult to actually try? Why would it be so insane to actually give Reza Shah, the crown prince, the possibility to return, and return triumphantly at that, and to secure his crown? Because who's gonna come to Tel Aviv and say no object? There is no objection to be had, because his mother, the Queen Regent, has every right, and I would like to think the duty, to see her son crowned Shah. We all want it. I want it desperately. And I want people to want it too, because it will be a good day that day. It will be a great day.
Yes. I mean, we say everyone should be his or her own most passionate advocate. I think that, you are a very passionate advocate about this concept of the Queen Farah declaring the crown prince as the king. And she has all the legal tools. She has the sovereign land. She has the constitution. She has
wisdom. She has wisdom, something that not many people have.
Right.
She has the wisdom of decades in power. She was there when the Shah, constructed his vision for Iran. She was there when he started implemented it. She was there when he was betrayed. She was there when he died. She was there in exile and trying to raise her kids, and remembering what it was to be queen of Iran, remembering what it was to be an empress, what it was, to see people thrive, what it was to protect them from the enemy from within and without. She was there the whole way, and she stood, and she has remained the mother of all Iranians. She has remained a beacon of hope for millions of Iranians. And so let the woman, let her do what she was meant to do. Let her fulfill her husband's wish and his last command, to see his son rise on the throne of Iran. Let the man return.
Right. So I don't know whether you are aware of the fact that the crown prince, actually took an oath of office on his 18th birthday when he was, I believe he was in Morocco. But I don't know. I'm not aware of whether all these different legal aspects, the status of the queen and the sovereign land was observed there because they were not in Israel and not in that piece of property that will basically provide the last, ring in this chain of legal issues that had to be dealt with in order to make the entire thing legal according to the international relations. But now the way that you are suggesting it, I think it makes very much sense. When I made that suggestion 10 years ago, I said that the only person who is really uniquely and exclusively qualified to do this is Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, and in addition to being declared as a king, he has to form his own government in exile and request for official recognition, formal recognition by all the countries in the world. At that time, around 2015, 2016, when I was talking about this, and I talked about this for a whole year. Every week, every Friday.
Let's not wait another year. Let's do it now. Because I tell you something. If he was, because I heard what you told me, some people are saying, no, but he was already crowned Shah. Well, then why are you calling him the crown prince?
Right.
Question, isn't it?
At that time, I made a back of the envelope calculation from 170 countries in the world, and I figured that if he declares a government in exile and requests for official recognition, for formal recognition, there would be at least 5 countries in the world who will recognize his government.
Or more than that now, I can tell you.
That's right.
Listen, if I have to take my little luggage and to walk the floors of the United Nations and lobby until my last breath, for all of them to recognize, I will do it gladly. Okay? And people who do know me know one thing is that when I decide on something, I never let go.
Okay, you should lead the effort. I mean, I think
look, I would be more than happy to, but I'm not Iranian, and I don't want to be. I would not want to do that. I mean, look, I will support you all day, every day, but Iranians need to do that. So
yes, of course.
You now,
and then
I will be with you the whole way.
I mean, we can talk about it, we can encourage it, we can analyze it, we can provide the historical background for it. Did you know that there are, as we speak, there are 90 government in exiles in the world? 90. Almost half of the countries in the world have a government in exile, waiting on the wings,
Well, the French did it,
Yes. General de Gaulle.
Yes, exactly. And it worked out for us pretty well. So I'm thinking, let's do it again. But this time, let's do it against a truly, and I'm not saying that Nazi was not evil, but the Islamic Republic is such a stain on humanity. And I'm trying to maintain my composure because I cannot stand those people. It would be a victory for humanity, truly. I mean, the defeat of Nazi Germany was only half won because we forgot that, there in the Middle East was the other half. And we lost because of it. I feel like we lost because today, my grandfather fought against Nazi Germany, and here I am, his granddaughter, and I have to do the same thing. So clearly, we missed a bit, and that would be truly to close the circle and to end the cycle of evil. So let's do it together.
Yes, absolutely. Especially that the matter of unseating the Islamic Republic in Iran is not just an Iranian issue anymore; it's an international issue. They have. Not only they pose threat against their neighbors, they have threatened almost every single one of their neighbors, from Azerbaijan to Iraq to Qatar to Saudi Arabia. I mean, they've done a lot against Saudi Arabia.
Qatar. I tell you something. If we look at what Qatar has done, whatever happens to Qatar had it coming. So I'm not going to waste my breath in trying to defend them because their leadership, that whatever it is that they are supporting, not nice. Not nice at all. And I'm saying I'm trying to stay polite here, but I hope it stops. That's all I'm going to say.
But the threat they pose against Israel is unique among all the threats they pose against. I mean, they even pose a threat, I think, against the Europeans, the entire country of Europe. I mean, what is the reason? They've already built missiles.
They haven't learned. This is the thing that is very annoying about the EU, and I include the UK in that, is that even though they have witnessed the horrors of World War II, they cannot, for the life of them, master the courage to understand that it's coming for them. They do believe, and I don't know where it's coming from, that they feel they have this notion that, back in the Middle East, whoever is opposing them is just like some kind of a, half-witted, person in flip-flops, and that, possibly they can't bear arms against them, or even if they can, they can't hurt them, or they can't pose a real threat. And I think that is such a strategic miscalculation. Yes, the Middle East can hurt you. Yes, those armies are perfectly capable of slaughtering your people. They have done mine, so they will do you. The notion again that it's okay as long as they hate Israel. Well, my question is this: so if the day was to pass that Israel is over and no more, who's going to defend you and protect you? Because you're going to be left wide open. Also, something that needs to be said, and it's not nice to say it because I was born in France, but I feel that the day where we're going to wake up one morning and witness the rise of the this Islamic Caliphate flag above Paris is not too far. I mean, they have imported evil, they have imported radicalism and terrorism, and those people who come through our borders and claim to want to marry a 6-year-old little kid, or claim that battering women is cultural, that it's okay to do whatever in the name of. I disagree. No, you can't do whatever in the name of. I don't care whose name you're invoking.
Right.
If you are standing against human rights, and I would say just basic courtesy against other people, then yes, you should be opposed, and not all ideas and cultures are equal, unfortunately for you. I also think, like the French, like many other European countries, cannot possibly fathom that after the Saturday people come the Sunday people. They are the Sunday people. Churches have already been, targeted by the Free Palestine movement. I'm just waiting for them to come with the axe. And I'm not saying this because I want this to happen. I'm saying this because unfortunately it will, unless they wake up. And they can't possibly understand that. October 7th was a dress rehearsal for what is coming next in Europe. People don't want to say it because they're so used to, and they enjoy watching Jews die. And I don't enjoy it, and I don't enjoy seeing anyone die. But unless you wake up, it's coming to you. And I don't know in which language I need to say it. I've tried in French, I've tried in English. I don't know what else to say. So maybe we need to employ translators and have them to work really hard to say it in all other languages. But seriously, wake up. You need to, the writing is literally on the wall. Literally on the wall. I don't know what else needs to happen for them to understand.
If you really want it to happen, you have to learn how to say it in Farsi.
Okay, maybe. Maybe one day. I tell you what, when the Islamic Republic is gone, I will learn Farsi. Until then.
It's very easy. I mean, you already know Arabic. You already know the alphabet. Basically, it's just different way of combining the letters to make Persian words rather than okay. English words.
If I say it now, they're going to call me a Mossad agent again. So
yes. I mean, I think this is a very important message. The message that, I mean, you heard that Emmanuel Macron and Keir Starmer, they have committed themselves to recognize the state of Palestine.
Well, look, I mean, if they want to eat those falafels, they're welcome. But I don't want to. I'm not going to swallow them. It's ridiculous. Also, it means nothing. It's a political decision that will change nothing on the ground. So other than grandstand on what? On the blood of my people and yours for that matter, because the Islamic Republic stands behind Hamas. What is it that they're saying? You can't say in the same sentence that you stand for the right of Iranians to choose however they want to be ruled and support the pro-Palestinian movement. And I have nothing against Palestinians. I want Palestinians to be free of Hamas. Not Israel. Israel is not anywhere near. We don't care for Gaza. We don't care. Now, when it comes to Judea and Samaria, I'm sorry to break it to you guys. It's ours. Okay? And if anyone disagrees with me, do it all day, every day, but I'm not going to change my mind. Palestinians did not exist until a few decades ago when they decided to raise a flag that is not even theirs. That represents actually literally Islamic colonialism. We need to understand that the very reason why all those countries speak Arabic and are under the yoke of Islam is because once upon a time they got invaded and forced to. Iranians were forced to turn to Shia Islam after being persecuted for centuries.
Yes.
And people say, oh no, they just fell in love. No, they did not fall in love with. I mean, some people may have chosen, and that's fine with me. But when you force someone to turn into a religion and to literally forget your forefathers and your tradition and where you come from, your history, is a violation too far for me. And this is something too that I would like to talk about. It's
Yes,
not talked
yes.
about enough. If you look at the African continent, if you look at what happened to the Middle East, Islam, such as that, carried by radicals of the likes that we see today, is sitting in the Islamic Republic, are those very people who have literally colonized, and I would say one more word, enslaved entire continents to their barbarity. And I'm not talking about the faith, leave the faith alone. When you have to change your name to abide by one that was given to you by your colonizer, what do you call it but enslavement? And this is something that we need to discuss. People talk a lot about, the white people. Fine, the white people turn it into an industry. Is it reprehensible? Absolutely. Are we going to talk about the fact that it was those Arab colonizers that literally sold those people to the white colonizers? Can we talk about this for a second? And because I'm not trying to say that, we don't have something to answer to, although my people never did it. But, of course, Europe had to, again, apologize. But they've done it. So how much do you want, them to apologize for? When the very people who actually architected this whole industry are still free to do it. I don't understand it. I don't understand how you can look at the mullahs and not understand that an entire nation is being enslaved and has been kidnapped and is being blackmailed to an inch of their life. Enough with the lies. Enough is trying to come up with, different themes for history because it doesn't suit our leaders, in our Western capitals. It is time for a reckoning. History needs to be told.
Yes. Islamic Republic at this point, over its life of 46 years of ruling in Iran, has killed more Iranians than it has killed its what they call their enemies. During the Iran-Iraq war, I think they had something like 500,000 casualties on each side. The Islamic Republic, and that war was exclusively and uniquely instigated by Ayatollah Khomeini, who constantly provoked Saddam Hussein and asked the Iraqi people to rise up against and overthrow Saddam Hussein. And Saddam sent a lot of messages for him to stop that. And actually,
he needed a war.
That's right. He needed a war because the war will justify his behavior and the massacring of the opposition. Yes.
Not just that, and you know that better than me. But Iranians are nationalists and they're very patriotic and they love their country and bless their heart for it. But also that means that whenever, an enemy from without breaches into their borders, of course they're going to fight and they're going to rally around the authority of the time, because what else are you going to do? And that's what happened. Khomeini needed to buy himself time.
He didn't even hide that. You know what he called?
I know, that's the part.
You know how he characterized war? He said war is the bounty of God.
Well, he was a megalomaniac, so. but seriously, it's something that I don't understand why it's not being taught in university corridors, because he architected that war because, first of all, he would get rid of all the generals in the army because he made sure that they were sent in the front line. It also allowed him to buy himself time that he used to create the RSGC, that became the militia. That sole purpose was just there to protect him, and then after his successor, Khamenei. And they've done their job all right because they protected the regime to the point where it became this monstrosity. And Iranians were stuck because what do? Do you fight Saddam Hussein or do you not? But then if you don't, that means that your country is going to be breached into. And so Iranians who could not possibly understand at the time, because, history was literally being rolled out and they couldn't see what's going to happen in 20 years, got caught in a lie and they were lied to. And I think that they were hoping for the Shah to come back and they were hoping that all things would be good. And they were betrayed by so many people. The list is too long for me to name.
Do you think Iranians were betrayed by the West?
Yes, 100%. Because what do you say to those people who encouraged the Shah to leave? Because, he sent letters, he wrote, he called. And he called for his friend to rally around him. And everybody's like, oh, get out and we'll help you because we don't want to save you and your family. Oh, yes, they did save them, all right. They betrayed. But his son is still here.
Yes.
So history is not completely written. And I want to believe that once he returns, that is going to demand reparation. The world owes Iranians more than just an apology. Yes. You have to call for reparation. All those countries who benefited from the Islamic Republic will have to pay you money.
Yes.
I hope they do.
Yes, yes, yes. And, I think at this point, what we're saying is that, and what you are saying, I think, is that the Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, not only he has a role to play, a destiny-changing role to play for Iranian people, he also can really change the history of the world and definitely the history of the region and the history of the Jewish nation by helping the demise of the Islamic Republic, by assuming his rightful position as a king and providing, especially that, you have provided all the legal pathways for his declaration as a king and hoping that, I mean, did you know that if you have a government in exile that's been recognized by even one country in the world, then that whole new world will open up to you. Many doors will open up to you. You can.
And I can tell you, I'm sure Israel will oblige. But I tell you something, everything that you talked about before, from your mouth to God's ear. I really hope so.
Yes. So I think everything is provided for him other than a decision that, he has to make. I mean, we can do all of this. We can provide the legal ground for him to declare himself. No, he doesn't need to declare himself. His mother can declare him as the king.
And that's his birthright.
Yes.
It is his birthright. So he needs to, well, actually, we don't need him to become anything other than what he was born to do, which is to rule.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And the world really needs some help. I mean, because
I'm not the world, but I'm here.
On the surface, if you talk to any American citizen, ordinary American citizens or Europeans for that matter, they will tell you that the governments, whether they're French or Brits or Italians or whatever, or German or Americans, they are under the impression, from what they see in the news, they are under the impression that their government's opposing the Iranian regime, the Islamic Republic. But then only when
doing it.
That's right. And only when you dig deep, you see that, there are these theories that proclaims that, the West has been reluctant in providing Iran or at least supporting during Obama, when the Green Movement was at its full swing, Obama, instead of supporting the movement, he wrote a very kind letter to Ayatollah Khamenei and basically denounced and detached himself from the Green Movement and from the struggle and the aspirations of the Iranian people. And he basically told Khamenei in so many words that I'm not supporting this movement. We are not trying to instigate, insurrection in your country. That was horrible from the point of view of Iranians. Iranians actually at that time, the slogan for the Green Movement was Obama, Obama, Yaba, Una, Yabama. Do you know what that means? It means Obama, either with them or with us. So to Iranian people, it was quite obvious that Obama was supporting the regime, especially that when he crowned his support, his implicit support of the regime by his signature at the bottom of the JCPOA, the nuclear agreement that released billions and billions of dollars of Iranian people's asset to the regime, that immediately after this fund arrived at the house of the Ayatollah Khamenei, the whole Middle East was put on fire. And still, Obama and his supporters are denying the role that the JCPOA played in empowering the Iranian regime and prolonging its life, because Iranian opposition at that time was much, much stronger than now. And this regime learned its lesson from the Green Movement, and they redoubled their effort of suppression of dissent in Iran. And they imported a lot of technologies, face recognition technologies, and a lot of surveillance technologies from China, and a lot of hardware support from Russia to suppress population. And that has really definitely been against the interest of Iranian people. And I don't know about the relationship between Netanyahu and Putin, but Putin, by keeping this regime in Iran, is not doing the Israeli people and the Jewish people a service, because Putin might deny that the Iranian regime is hell-bent in destroying Israel, but they are. And anyone who doesn't believe that, and anyone who is fooled by the regime saying that, just last week, the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, in an interview, I think it was with CNN, he said that, Iranian government has never vowed to destroy Israel. We are not out there to destroy Israel, which is exact. I mean, the reason why he can say it in English is because that CNN reporter hasn't done its homework to listen to hundreds and thousands of public announcements, public speeches by Khamenei. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's enough. I mean, you don't need to elaborate further. That Israel is enough for me to tell me that you're not out there to build bridges.
Yes. Well, we came a full circle in dealing with the issues related to Iran-Israel relationship, and we still haven't been able to change some minds about the fact that we need to do something extraordinary, unique when it comes to the Iranian regime, and this regime is not going to go away and it definitely is not going to go away by the Iranian people themselves, because they have tried multiple times in the last 40 years. And every time they've been suppressed even more savagely by the regime. And that's exactly why the 12-day war came at an opportune time. And Iranians were delighted to see that Israel was beating up on the Islamic regime, and they were hoping that it will finish the job. Unfortunately, President Trump didn't allow Netanyahu to finish the job, but maybe now that the regime feels so weakened, they are definitely weakened. Their tentacles, Hezbollah and Hamas and Houthis, and a lot of their status in the Middle East is really shattered. They're not a local superpower anymore. They're completely humiliated by Israel and the performance of the Israeli Air Force, and I'm hoping that the aftershocks of the 12-day war will liven up the Iranian peoples and energizes the Iranian people, both inside and outside the country, to rise up and finish the regime. Well, Catherine, thank you very much for your participation and for your delightful contribution.
To you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And we are going to continue these kind of conversations. I think you have a lot to contribute to the Iranian community, and I'm sure that they would like to hear more from you. So thanks again. And with you, I say goodbye to our audience. Hopefully, we will meet again soon and continue this conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.